Barnaby Jones, starring Buddy Ebsen. Also starring Lee Merriweather, with guest stars Jessica Walter, Jack Ging, Betty Ackerman. Special guest star Ed Nelson. Tonight's episode, Venus as in Flytrap.
Miss Latham, in your last editorial...
Ms. Latham.
Yes, Ms. Latham. You stated that Lawrence Kinner's reputation as this country's greatest living novelist was deplorable.
No, the reputation was only laughable. The fact that he's living is deplorable. He's a charlatan, masking a third-rate talent under a cloak of male chauvinism. If he spent as much time writing as he does talking, the public would at least be spared the agony of looking at him.
Mr. Kinner, how do you feel about that statement?
Only pity, really, for someone suffering a mental diaper rash while groping around for a misplaced sexual identity.
At least I know your identity. King of the clearance racks, the poor man's Hemingway.
I understand you spent the last 6 months working on your latest novel.
Oh, yes, and he got as far as the title. Now, Mr. Kinner, when will we be able to read the book?
As soon as you've acquired that facility, I assume.
You know, seriously, perhaps if you'd stop maligning women and acknowledge them as your equals, you'd regain your popularity.
My reputation is based on honesty. I couldn't possibly espouse such a ludicrous concept.
But you're not above living off a woman. If it hadn't been for your wife, you'd have starved to death years ago. It's been 10 years since you've been anywhere near the bestseller list.
I'm sorry. I just can't stand to hear you run down.
Well, I guess I better get my stuff together and get out of here. I'll be late for my lecture. Honey, that last stuff was really below the belt. I mean, about my living off of you. Even if it was the truth.
Larry, you live with me. Between a husband and wife, nothing's divisible. Everything I have, you own. Larry. Including all my love.
Hello.
I love you.
Love you?
Did you see the show?
That's very convincing. I was beginning to believe we really do hate each other.
What a shock the public's in for. When we get married. How long, Larry?
I'm not sure.
Not sure. After all your planning?
I told you, it's not easy.
You're stalling, Larry. You've been stalling since the beginning.
Don't you understand? Timing on this thing has to be just perfect. I'd be too suspect if anything goes wrong.
I love you, Larry. I can't wait much longer.
You won't have to wait long, I promise. Okay, I have to leave now. I'll talk to you later.
Who is calling?
Draper. He's still playing like the editor in distress. He wants my manuscript. I'll see you. I'll be back before midnight.
I'll wait up. I have to answer some letters.
Catherine?
Who are you? Aren't you Brooke Latham?
That's right.
What do you want?
Your husband.
What are you talking about?
He won't do it. Just so.
No, 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 please. No, no, no. Oh, stop. Hans, help me. Hans, Hans, help me.
Police authorities have tentatively ruled my daughter's death due either to a suicide or an accident. But both theories leave too many questions. I don't see how it could have been an accident.
Why not, Mr. Strand?
Because Marjorie had a deathly fear of the water. She almost drowned as a child.
Seems strange she'd have a house with a pool.
Well, it was her husband who insisted on putting it in for his own pleasure. Marjorie'd go out on the patio sometimes, but she'd never go near the pool.
Well, with a phobia like that, would seem to rule out accident or suicide as far as drowning is concerned. Did you tell all this to the police?
Yes. They said that there's no simple rationale for suicide.
Well, I understand that she was an invalid and had been suffering a great deal of pain lately.
Yes, but she was too much of a fighter to ever contemplate taking her own life.
Well, if that's true, there's only one other alternative. Do you know of anyone who might have wanted to harm your daughter?
No, she had no enemies, and
And what?
she never fought with her husband.
Well, I understand her husband was about 20 miles away at the time of your daughter's death, lecturing to a group of fans.
Yes, it is just that Larry had become so erratic lately. His writing had suffered.
Really? Never forget the first book of his. I read it about 10 years ago. Not a critic, but that man could really spin a yarn.
Yes, but it's been downhill ever since. He was never able to write anything comparable afterward, even saleable. It got to the point where he had to keep his name alive with various publicity antics. As for money, my daughter was quite wealthy in her own right. That money now becomes his, Mr. Jones.
Mr. Kinner should be down soon. I heard him stirring upstairs.
Thank you.
Poor man, he hasn't left his room since the funeral. Well, you've certainly given the premises a going over, Mr. Jones. Are you looking for anything special?
No, I just sort of beat the bushes and hope something flies out at me.
Mr. Jones? My father on my phone said you'd be coming over.
Oh, I'm very pleased to meet you. Isn't often I get to meet a famous writer in the course of my day's work.
Yeah. I'm flattered that you think so. If I can be of any help in what you're doing here, just let me know.
Well, yes, maybe you could be of some help. I found this over by that fence there.
What is it?
Well, it looks like a piece of a glove. Have any idea where it came from?
Might be the gardener's, huh?
Doesn't look like a work glove. Teeth marks in it, like the dog might have gotten to it. I understand the dog was loose on the terrace here when your wife was found.
Yeah, evidently he climbed out over the gate.
Have to be pretty agitated to make a jump that high.
Yeah. He probably got out when Marjorie fell in the pool. Dogs can somehow sense when their masters are in danger. But careful. It can be vicious.
Yeah, baby.
You have quite a gift with animals. He's never taken to me like that.
That so? Seems a strange attitude for a dog to have to his owner.
I'm not his owner. It belongs to my father-in-law. He gave it to Marjorie as a companion.
Looks like this dog has a kind of a lump over his left ear here.
A lump?
Yeah, looks like a contusion. Anybody struck this dog lately?
Nobody in my house would abuse an animal.
I know a very good vet. I think I'll call Mr. Strand, ask him if he'd like me to have the dog looked at.
Okay.
You know, it could be this glove, or what's left of it, belonged to a trespasser who made a quick exit, maybe over that fence.
We haven't had a trespasser around here. But you think somebody may have gotten in here and killed Margie?
You know anyone who would want your wife dead?
No, nobody. Nobody at all.
Larry, I didn't hear you drive up. You know how involved I always get when I'm working on a new issue. How are you?
How should I be?
I tried calling, but your housekeeper answered, so I hung up. Well, I won't lie, Larry. You can't expect condolences from me.
I don't expect anything from you. Least of all, a sense of charity, Brooke.
Charity? You hypocrite. Who used to pace for hours planning his wife's murder? How many times did you talk about killing her so we could be together? Or is that all it was? Talk. Did you ever really mean any of it?
Yes, I meant it.
Well, then what's bothering you? Your wife solved all her problems by committing suicide.
If she really committed suicide.
What do you mean, if?
My father-in-law, he hired a private detective to look into her death.
Why?
He suspects murder. And I have a feeling the investigator does, too.
Does he have any evidence?
Only a theory. He thinks somebody might have broke into the house that night. On the way out, got bitten by Marjorie's dog. Why are you hiding your arm like that?
I'm not. I heard it the other day playing tennis.
Can I see it?
It's nothing.
I shouldn't let me look at it! A cast from playing tennis? Or is he covering something else, like teeth marks?
Larry,
Now
please!
tell me!
You're hurting me!
You tell me the truth!
All right! I killed her! That's what you wanted, isn't it? What we both wanted. I'm sure you would have done it yourself, but she was so helpless. If it had been a man, someone equal to you in strength, I'm sure you would have done it a long time ago. Oh, Larry, it's all over now. We have each other. There's nothing. No one is standing in our way.
I'll be right.
Trust me, babe. Trust me. Hi.
Oh, have a nice walk.
He had a nice walk. I just went along for the ride.
What did the vet say?
Well, the lump behind his ear was caused by a blow. But the skin wasn't broken, so it was probably caused by a blunt instrument.
That's what I figured.
Did that piece of gloves tell you anything?
Good quality leather, medium grain, probably belonged to a man. There's something about it I don't understand.
What's that?
Found this inside.
Looked like a piece of broken fingernail.
Painted bright red.
Inside a man's glove?
Hey, you better get going.
A little while ago, you wanted me to stay forever.
I still do. We have lots of time for that later.
Okay.
Well, hello. Hope I'm not intruding.
Hi, Tom. Dr. Reston, this is Bert Shallert.
Mr. Charlotte, nice to know you.
Didn't realize doctors still made house calls.
Well, I happen to be in the neighborhood, so I thought I'd look at Brooke's wrist and save her an office call.
I'll talk to you later, Bert.
Yeah, sure. Excuse me. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
I don't like unexpected visits.
Well, now, you gave me one last week, and I kind of liked it.
Tom, look, I'm sorry. It won't work. I realize you can't revive something that's dead.
You've been conning me, haven't you, Brooke?
What are you talking about?
All the little bits and pieces are starting to fit together. Like that bit right there with Charlotte at the door. Brooke, I've seen Larry Kinner on enough magazine covers and television shows to know who he is. I mean, what do you take me for?
All right. He and I are friends. I didn't want to be seen with him because we're carrying on a public feud, a very profitable one.
Didn't his wife drown last week?
Yeah. He's very broken up about it.
Monday. On the night that you called me. Because you wanted to be treated.
Look, Tom, this is getting very tiresome. I wish...
No. Don't interrupt. Now I remember. The newspaper's building up about a dog grieving over Mrs. Kinner. And now I know why you wanted us to cover up the teeth marks.
It's not what you're thinking.
Isn't it? I'm thinking you helped put that lady in the pool. And then you used me as a patsy. You used me, Brooke. Because you knew I'd never say anything revealing about you. Didn't you?
I only came to you because I needed help.
Well, now, what am I supposed to do? Keep quiet?
What do you want to do?
Well, suppose we meet at my house tonight. For dinner. And we'll talk it over.
All right.
Why don't we find you a comfortable chair? Oh, Ms. Latham, this is Mr. Barnaby Jones.
I just have a few questions, Miss Latham.
I only have a minute. What can I do for you?
I'm a private investigator hired to look into the death of Mrs. Lawrence Kinner.
Yes, I read about her suicide.
Seems to be some question of that.
Why come to me?
Because it's probable that Mrs. Kinner had a visitor about the time she drowned, and I wanted to talk to everyone who knew her or her husband.
Well, I've never met Mrs. Kinner, and I have no connection with her husband, unless you're referring to our public controversy.
I sure am. You know, I've been reading some of the topics of your television debates, and I gotta hand it to you. You really know a lot about your adversary.
Know thy enemy, Mr. Jones. I do a lot of research, but I assure you it's nothing personal.
Well, that's rare. I have seen a lot of controversies in my time, and I have never seen one that wasn't personal.
Well, for your information, the controversy is an idealistic struggle between a woman freedom fighter and a corrupt, egomaniacal bigot.
Well, I can see you're certainly not in love with him.
Love? Who could love that male sexist pig?
Possibly a female one. Have you any idea who that might be?
Mrs. Jones, I am sorry. Lawrence Kinner's love life, if it's possible for a man like that to have one, is of no interest to me.
Can you beat that?
I think that says it all.
Well, seems he was friendly enough to pose for you.
Well, that happened to be an existing photo. The chauvinist sign is superimposed.
Oh, that's best superimposition I ever saw. No tonal differences? No lines of demarcation?
Mr. Jones, I have a magazine to get out. I'm very busy. If there's nothing else.
I see you hurt your hand.
Yeah, I sprained my wrist.
And you chipped a nail on your little finger.
When I sprained it.
Oh. Well, thank you very much. Oh, in case I ever need one, would you mind telling me the name of the doctor who made that cast for you? You would. Well, thank you very much, Ms. Lathan.
Larry, I'm glad I caught you. I just had a visit with that investigator.
Jones? What do you want?
He was trying to connect you with a woman.
What do you have?
Nothing, he was just fishing.
I don't like it.
Quit worrying about him. There's somebody much more important. Brought you a fresh one.
Well, if you're trying to get me drunk, you don't need alcohol. Just having you here's enough.
That's very sweet.
Well, I'm a very sweet guy. It's true. I've never, ever stopped loving you. Not ever. But now you're gonna be mine, aren't you?
If that's what you want.
That's what I want, Brooke. More than anything. Come here. What do you see out there?
Out a dark sky. Some stars.
There's a lot more. The whole world for us. We're gonna take a trip. Maybe Hawaii, Japan. Just you and me. Get to know each other again. Like it used to be. And you're gonna forget all about Larry Kinner.
That's not going to be very hard. I better check dinner.
Okay.
hear me come in?
No. Do it now. Now. In case you need it.
We have to make it look like it was an accident.
Well, Brooke, I was just thinking. It was all in it.
Larry. Now, Larry, believe me. It was the only way. Believe me. Come on, come on.
Are you still going over that information I gave you on Kinner?
For the 5th time, and I'll tell you something. There is nothing in here that tells me anything about who that other woman might be, if there is another woman. Did you find out anything about Brooke Latham?
No. I checked her neighbors, an ex-roommate. Believe it or not, I even checked her cleaning lady, but I'll tell you, I think you're on the wrong track there, Mr. J.
Well, I'll tell you something about tracks. Once you get on one, you got to stay on it until you reach the end.
Yes, but Brooke Latham and Larry Kinner? I mean, her hate for him is pure eloquence.
So I've heard, but there are a couple of things that bother me. That cast on her hand, and that chipped fingernail. You know, for somebody who is at war with men, she spends an awful lot of time fraternizing with the enemy.
War makes strange bedfellows, Barnaby.
Here's one that's not so strange. Thomas Reston.
Do you know him?
Well, no, but you say here that he was once engaged to Brooke Latham. And he's a doctor.
The cast.
That's where you would go to get one. Why don't you call Dr. Reston, and if he's not in, find out his own number.
All right.
Well, it might have been an accident. It's clear he fell over the railing.
It's clear he fell over the railing, all right, but whether or not it was an accident, that's something else.
What are you saying?
I'm not sure, but it seems to be the one thing a man would know about his own house, is, especially if it was perched on a cliff like this, is how far he can lean over his terrace rail.
How about if the man had been drinking? From the looks of things inside, Dr. Reston had quite a few before he fell.
Well, that could be the difference.
By the way, what was it you wanted to see him about?
Putting a cast on a dog bite.
A cast on a dog bite.
Kind of crazy to me, too.
Dr. Reston was... He was such a fine man. Oh. I'm sorry, Mr. Jones.
That's all right. I know how you must feel. Did you ever see this woman before?
No. No, not that I can remember. I know she isn't one of Dr. Reston's patients.
You know if Dr. Reston treated anyone last Monday about midnight?
Oh, the office closes at 6.
But couldn't he have been called back on an emergency?
Well... Oh, there's no record of it. Wait, did you say Monday?
Yes.
I remember on Tuesday morning having to clean up one of the examining rooms. Now, I know the room was clean when I left the night before, so Dr. Reston must have come back to treat someone.
Do you happen to know what the treatment was?
I believe he put on a cast. The gauze was left out and the plaster compound. Probably a break or a sprain. The patient must have had a skin puncture, too.
Why do you say that?
Well, because I remember that the tetanus vaccine was also left out. Dr. Reston must have given the patient a shot.
Well, thank you, Ms. Nelson. You've been a great help.
Stay back!
Morning.
Morning, Mr. Jones. What are you doing here?
Well, I went by your house. Your housekeeper said that you were out riding, said I might find you here.
What can I do for you this time?
Do you know a Dr. Thomas Reston?
I should. I was once engaged to him. But I'm sure you've already learned that. What about him?
He's dead.
How'd it happen?
Seems like he had a few drinks and fell off his terrace.
Tragic. Why did you feel you had to bring me the news personally?
You never did tell me who put the cast on your arm.
That's right, I didn't. Why is it so important?
Dr. Reston made a cast for somebody on Monday night.
Doctors do make casts.
He also administered a tetanus shot. Could have been for a dog bite.
Well, you seem unsure. I take it there was no record of the treatment?
Not a jot or a whittle.
That's too bad.
That's the first thing we've agreed on. Fine-looking animal. About 3 years old.
Really?
Funny thing about teeth, human or animal, they're kind of like fingerprints. No two sets alike. I've taken an impression of the Kinner dog's mouth.
Just why are you telling me all this?
Well, I'm hoping that you'll show me what's under your cast so I don't have to bother you again.
I'd be happy to. Of course, it could just be an infringement of personal rights.
Depends on how you look at it.
Mr. Jones, do you have a court order directing me to remove this cast?
Can't say that I do.
Then perhaps we better say goodbye. Could you hear?
Yeah.
He knows, and I'm worried.
Morning.
Hello.
Did you just rent Miss Latham a horse?
Sure did.
Was she alone?
Nope. She had a man with her. Yeah, that's the fellow that rode out with her. Anything wrong?
Oh, thanks. Quick, turn on the water.
How did it happen?
Somebody didn't read this.
What is it? What's wrong? Well, it looks like we've got a sick dog here. Well, he's probably still grieving over Marjorie's death. No, that's more than that. Look at this saliva around the muzzle here. I think it's distemper? Or rabies. I'm taking him back to the vet. Come on, boy. There you are, Mr. Jones.
Thanks for your help, Mrs. Train.
I hope this works.
Rabies.
I thought I'd better tell you right away.
Larry. Oh, Larry.
Take it easy. I still can't see how the dog could have been exposed to rabies.
Find out. Call the vet.
Yes, Mr. Kinner, the dog is here.
Any diagnosis?
Well, the dog is under observation, and then we're going to run some tests.
Well, look, can you do those tests now?
Well, I don't understand the urgency. Has the dog bitten anybody?
Well, no, but,
We'll have some results for you in a day or two. Yes, I'll keep in touch.
Thanks, Doc. Thank you very much.
That dog is rabid. I've got to have treatment right away.
there are gonna be questions asked wherever you have it done. We have to think about this.
There's no time. Larry, help me, help me.
All right, we'll go out of town. Santa Barbara, maybe.
Great. I'll pack some things.
You say there's no chance in finding the dog that bit you?
No, it happened while I was hiking, a stray mongrel. I'm sure it didn't belong to anyone.
I see. Why was a cast applied?
I also sprained my wrist.
Why didn't you have your own doctor?
Well, he was going to start, you see, but he was called out of town in an emergency. Can't you help me?
Yeah, I'd like to take a look at that wound. You better consult your doctor first. Is there a number where he can be reached?
No, I told you, he's out of the country.
Oh. Well, what about his office number? They must have your medical records on file.
There isn't any file. I mean...
I'd better get this okayed. You? I'll be right back. What do you say? What's going on?
It's this cast. They're asking questions.
All right, well, we better go someplace else.
No, they just ask the same questions. Here, you take this off. You take it off. He won't help me. We'll find somebody who will.
Doctor, that patient who just came in a few minutes ago.
Excuse me. I'm a private investigator. Where do you have that patient?
First examining room on the left. Why? What's wrong?
Call the police and clear the area.
Now, call that doctor. Hurry.
Now let's have a look at that wrist.
It was a trick. That dog didn't have rabies.
Not unless you gave them to him.
How'd you find out?
The case is like a kaleidoscope, Mr. Kinner. You have to keep twisting until the pieces form a pattern.
I had nothing to do with my wife's death.
That may very well be, but what about Dr. Reston? I don't think he fell off of that terrace by himself. And I don't think she was strong enough to push him. Let's go. Drop it.
I've got a gun at your back, Jones.
All right, Brooke, let's go.
You won't make it. We'll call the police.
All right, then you're coming with us. Let's go out to the parking lot. We're going for a drive. Now open the door.
Larry, wait, you coward!
Hold it! Freeze!
Pig. That cowardly pig.
What do you expect from a male chauvinist? Thought I'd bring Hans back to you.
Did Larry confess?
Yes, to everything.
How could he do it?
Mr. Strand, do you know how a Venus flytrap works? The victim is drawn in by sheer beauty and seductiveness. Your son-in-law was a very weak man.
Well, thank you, Mr. Jones. You've done a good job.
Couldn't have done it without Hans. We make a pretty good team.
Barnaby Jones, a Quinn Martin production. Starring Buddy Epson. Also starring Lee Merriweather, Mark Shera, with guest stars Laurie Prang, John Riley, Robert Mandan, Neva Patterson. Tonight's episode, Prisoner of Deceit.
Yeah. Oh, look at you.
There ought to be a law against someone as pretty as you.
There is, against flatterers. In Persia, they make you kiss for 10 straight days without taking a breath for turning a girl's head.
Let's, hold off on the execution of my sentence till we talk about us. What do you say? In a couple of days, we could be dropping anchor in Mazatlan.
I'd like to, Jack.
So?
I can't. You know I can't. It isn't because I don't want to.
But you can get a quick Mexican divorce. We can be gone. He'll never find us.
Yes, he would, wherever we go. And every time you're out of my sight, I'd be so frightened. I'd be so afraid Godfrey killed you. You don't think my husband's capable of murder? Well, he is.
I know. And that's exactly why I am afraid of him. But I think I have the solution. Come here and look. I've been digging into the past, trying to find some reason why Godfrey's got this terrible hold on you.
This, the fire, it happened so long ago. I was only a child when my father died.
I didn't even want to bring it up until I was absolutely sure.
Sure of what?
That Godfrey'd set the fire.
Oh, my God.
Trace, Godfrey killed your father and set the fire to cover it up.
Well, you'd have to have proof.
I do. Do you remember Selma Lawrence, your father's housekeeper?
Yes, of course. She was like a mother to me.
She was in the house the night the fire started. And then she disappeared right before the inquest.
Remember, she went away.
No, Godfrey paid her to go away. Trace, I know where she is. I found Selma Lawrence.
You've seen her?
No, I see her tomorrow. I can prove it. Godfrey killed your father and set the fire to cover it up.
Get out of here, Tracy. Leave her alone, Godfrey. She's not going to get back home. Keep out of this, Colonel. Keep out of my marriage.
Tracy's leaving you.
No, she's not. Not with you. And not with anyone else. Go on, Tracy. Trace, don't! This isn't the first time I've had to deal with a punk like you. Don't ever try to see Tracy again. Tracy! Tracy!
It's changed. Time was, you could see the beaches. Now it's wall-to-wall condominium.
Well, I don't know about the good old days, Barnaby, but old Santa Carla looks just fine the way it is.
Don't reel in the first one that hit your line, Jedediah. The water's full of them.
Mr. Jones.
Oh,
Good to see you again. From what Betty told me, I half expected you last night.
Well, I didn't get my desk cleaned off in time. This is my associate, Jedediah Jones, Steve Crandall.
Hi.
Sorry to hear about your brother's accident.
It wasn't any accident. Let's go on board where we can talk. know those robberies you solved for my plant a few years ago. I mean, how can you calculate the odds against somebody needing a private investigator once, let alone twice in their life, huh?
From the police report we stopped to read, it would seem that once would have been enough.
That wasn't a report, it was a farce. They haven't dug for the real facts. I'm telling you, Barnaby, somebody murdered my brother.
Well, according to the autopsy, he'd been drinking. They're saying that he stumbled off the dock, hit his head against a boat.
Yeah, sure, Jack drank, but only a shot or two. His stomach couldn't take more. You can check that out with his doctor.
Nevertheless, that's not enough to prove that it wasn't an accident.
Look, Jack and I were always very close. No secrets between us. That's until he brought his boat up here to Santa Carla. And he started to clam up on me.
What do you mean? You think he got into some kind of trouble up here?
Yeah, our trouble. He fell in love with some girl. He admitted that much.
You know who?
No, he wouldn't tell me her name. Maybe because she was married.
Sounds like you worked yourself up to a jealous husband theory.
It could be. See, Jack was a freelance newspaper man, feature stuff. Said he was working on some kind of a story up here. Wouldn't tell me what, but I got the feeling that the two were connected, the story and the girl.
That's it? Nothing more tangible?
Well, if you call something missing tangible, Jack always kept a gun on board. One of these drawers. Now it's gone.
Did he give you the impression that the story he was working on was dangerous enough for him to carry a gun?
Oh, I don't know, Barnaby. Jedediah, I told you it's gone. I've searched everywhere.
Was it just the gun you were looking for?
Oh, no, wait a minute. Here's something. That's just an old piece of newspaper. Aurora wins Gold Cup.
Barnaby, find that girl. If she turns out to be a dead end, at least I know we've tried.
All right. Where can we contact you, Steve?
Here, I'll be staying on board until I can clear up some of Jack's estate.
Have you any idea why your brother would have wanted to go to Reno?
Reno?
According to the police, they found an airline ticket to Reno in his pocket when they pulled him out of the water.
Aurora wins Gold Cup. Well, other than that, doesn't seem to be too much news.
Except for that story down there.
Inquest held in millionaire David Enright's death.
Big story at the time. He was found burned to death right in his own house.
Survived by daughter Tracy, sister Lillian. Search goes on for missing witness Selma Lawrence, the Enright housekeeper.
Your file have any more on that story?
Pretty much died with the inquest. But his sister, Lillian Enright, might be able to give you more. Lives down at the marina.
Maybe you could tell me a little something about your brother's death.
David? He was trapped in a burning room. But that was 12 years ago. I don't see what connection it could possibly have.
Well, for some reason, Jack Crandall was interested in that fire. Any idea how it started?
Nobody knew for sure.
What about the missing housekeeper, Selma Lawrence?
Well, I never subscribed to the theories that she went bonkers and put the torch to her boss. No, I have my own suspicions about that.
Care to share them?
As a result of my brother's death, his lawyer, Godfrey Wilde, became executor of the estate. It gave him complete authority to administer Tracy's inheritance.
Tracy, your brother's 12-year-old daughter.
Tracy hasn't been 12 for a long time, Mr. Jones. In fact, before she was to turn 21, when she would come into control of her own money, Godfrey married her. Does that give you the picture?
Kind of paints in the bare places.
It's all perfectly clear to me, as it must have been to Jack Crandall. Tracy's terrified of Godfrey. Obviously, he took advantage of that fear to bully her into marrying him.
So he could retain control of the money.
You don't think it's love, do you? He's twice her age.
Well, thank you very much, Miss Enright.
As long as I'm at it, there's one more thing. My apartment, you see, overlooks the marina parking lot. On the night that Jack Crandall died, I happened to be on my balcony.
Miss Wilde, did Jack Crandall tell you he planned to go to Reno?
Reno?
Can you think of any reason he may have wanted to go there?
I didn't know Jack very well. I liked him. He was the kind of person you could go to if you needed help.
Was he helping you with something?
He was trying to.
Something about your father's death?
No, of course not. That was years ago. It was about money, as a matter of fact.
Are you having financial problems?
My husband handles all of my financial affairs. Last year, he invested rather heavily in some land deal near Reno. Something to do with the highway they were supposed to build. Well, it all fell through, and I lost quite a lot of money. Jack was trying to find out if I could recover any of it.
Does your husband know that you asked Jack to help you?
No. No, he mustn't know. You see, he would think I was going behind his back, that I didn't trust his judgment.
Miss Wilde, this land, could you tell me where it is?
Well, it's all supposed to be rather confidential, but if... Godfrey, this is Mr. Barnaby Jones.
I know who he is. You're the private detective who is trying to make such a mystery out of young Crandall's death.
We're just trying to find out what happened, Mr. Wilde.
I thought the police already knew what happened. Crandall was drunk. He usually was. I'm afraid that's all Tracy and I can help you with.
There is one related matter that you may be able to throw some light on.
What's that?
I hear that your car was parked at the marina the night Jack Crandall was drowned. You mind telling me what you were doing there?
I didn't tell him that. Whoever told you that is mistaken.
Are you sure, Mrs. Wilde?
Yes. You see, Godfrey couldn't have been at the marina. We were together all evening. Neither of us left the house that night. How'd you get in here?
I'm Steve Crandall, Jack's brother.
Oh. I heard what happened.
Now I know why Jack wanted to stay in Santa Carla.
Well, I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about, so if you kindly leave.
Why don't you just forget the act? I was going through Jack's papers and found his gas credit card receipts. Some had your license number on them.
All right. But please believe me, Jack was sweet and kind, but there was never anything between us.
Then what is there to hide?
You're being naive. I'm a married woman. People don't understand platonic friendships.
You really don't expect me to believe that?
Look, my husband's on his way here.
I don't think your husband's on his way here at all.
Well, Jack always said you were the cynic in the family.
He talked about me?
All the time. How you were the ambitious one ever since you were kids. How you used to walk him to school to see he didn't get beaten up by the older boys.
Sometimes they'd beat us both up.
But you'd never run home and complain to your parents.
We always fought our own battles.
You see, I do know a lot about you.
Now, after I got your name from DMV, did checking. This house must hold a lot of bitter memories for you.
Because my father died here. It's still my home. At least that's the way I think of it. I grew up here. I used to do my homework in this room. My father would be sitting in this chair. So long as I could turn around and see him there, I knew nothing bad could ever happen to me. Jack told me he used to feel the same way about you.
Did you ask him to investigate your father's death?
No. There was no mystery about it. The power failed. My father was lighting some candles in his study. The curtains caught fire. He was trying to put them out. They fell down on top of him. He was trapped.
Are you in the house then?
Stairs asleep. Selma, the housekeeper, rushed in and got me outside.
I see. Do you mind if we went outside? This place really gives me the creeps.
Steve, knowing you through Jack and now finally meeting you, I feel I can somehow trust you.
What was Jack trying to find out for you?
Well, nothing really. Just about some land investments my husband made for me in Nevada near Reno.
That explains something. I'll be seeing you again.
I hope so. Where are you staying?
On Jack's boat.
You'd like to see me arrested for murder, wouldn't you, Lily?
I merely told Barnaby Jones the truth. I did see your car.
And a lot of dollar signs, too. What is it this time, Lily? Another trip to Europe or more cash to cover your bank loan again?
Inflation, Godfrey, it keeps us always in need.
But if you think turning that detective onto me is going to help you, forget it. It's not going to help you get 1 cent of Tracy's money.
Once you're put away where you belong, Tracy will be free to do exactly as she pleases with it.
You fool. Don't you know what would happen? All right, how much do you want? I'll give it to you out of my own money, but not Tracy's.
How much is it worth to you to stay out of prison?
Sometimes prison would seem like a relief.
You should have been sent there years ago.
For killing Tracy's father, you still believe that old lie?
You got rid of Selma Lawrence because she knew the truth.
Selma Lawrence? Yes, I did. Maybe it's time you knew the truth about Selma Lawrence, Lillian.
Reno? Isn't that in the desert?
No, it's in the mountains. Now, what I want you to do is check in at the land office there and see if they have a record of any real estate transactions involving Godfrey Wilde.
Okay, I think I could do that.
And Betty, remember the last time you went to Las Vegas? I had to wire you money.
Oh, listen, Barnaby, I've learned my lesson. I mean, I am going to stay so far away from those one-armed bandits, you won't believe it.
Well, actually, I'm just a law student, Mr. Long. I haven't taken my bar exams yet, but it's a real break for me to get to know somebody with your legal experience.
Well, thank you, young man. Of course, my legal experience was mostly inside the office.
Well, from what I heard, you ran Godfrey Wilde's law firm.
32 years I worked for that firm. And here I am having to count my pennies.
Yeah, well, it seems to me Godfrey Wilde treated you pretty badly after all you did for him.
Not even a pension or a profit-sharing plan.
Well, you weren't the only one who was sent out to pasture without a pension.
To whom are you referring?
The woman who worked for the Enrights, I think her name was Selma Lawrence.
What about Miss Lawrence?
Well, Godfrey had her fired. Packed her right out of the Enright house without even a month's salary.
Oh, no, he didn't. He was more than generous to her.
That's not the way I heard it.
I ran Godfrey Wilde's office. I know everything that went on there. A check was sent out to Miss Lawrence the first of every month.
Maybe we're not talking about the same person.
No. There was only one. Selma Lawrence. I used to send out those checks to Reno myself before I was forced to retire.
To Reno? You wouldn't happen to remember her address, would you?
I don't know what you're really after, young man. But I don't give out that kind of information. Thank you for the drink.
No, Barnaby. There's no record of any Nevada land deal involving Godfrey Wilde. Listen, I'll be landing back in L.A. In about 2 hours.
Betty, I'm afraid you're going to have to take a later plane. Jedediah was unable to locate an address on this. I want you to see if you can locate a Selma Lawrence living in the Reno area quietly, I imagine, and probably for the last 12 years.
Selma Lawrence. All right, I'll get right on it.
All right, tie her snug, Tracy.
Okay, Steve.
You got it? Yeah. Good.
How'd I do?
You're a born sailor, Tracy.
Steve, I've had such a marvelous time. Please don't spoil it.
I'm sorry. But no matter how the chips fall, I can't call Barnaby Jones off the case.
Steve, I'm frightened.
Look, your husband won't lay a hand on you. I'll see to
But
that.
Godfrey has a gun.
You threatening with it?
No, not yet.
How do you know he has one?
Last night I left my scarf in his car. I saw it in his glove compartment.
What kind was it? What did it look like?
I don't know. Small, flat.
Was it like the one Jack had?
I don't know, Steve. Please, it's not me I'm frightened for. It's you.
Godfrey found out about you and Jack and killed him, didn't he?
I don't know. All I know is I want to be free of him. I want to be free of him.
All right. Let's help each other, then.
How?
We'll both go to Jones and tell him what you know. Godfrey's threats, the gun.
No. No, Steve, I don't want what happened to Jack to happen to you.
Tracy, listen to me.
No, please, you listen. Now, Godfrey promised. He promised that if you got that detective to go away, he promised that he'd set me free. He wouldn't try to get me back, please.
Tracy, if you help Jones nail Godfrey, you will be free.
No, he'll kill you. He'll kill us both.
Tracy!
Hello?
JR, this is Steve Crandall. Is Barnaby there?
No, he isn't. He just took a hop over to Godfrey Wilde's house. Is there anything I can do?
No, that's okay. I'll go up there and talk to him myself.
He all right? Very lucky man, I'm told. Crash like that could have cost a cat 8 of his 9 lives.
How long before he can tell us what happened?
Who knows?
He was unconscious when they got to him, still is. Couple of hours, couple of days. Excuse me, Mr. Jones.
You know, Barnaby, this seems like an easy turn. But we're going pretty fast to overshoot it. What is it? What'd you find?
Looks like a piece of taillight limb.
Barnaby, if that's from Crandall's car, that would mean he got a little help from behind going over this cliff.
I'm really quite tired of answering your questions, Mr. Jones.
Well, if you don't mind my saying so, Mr. Wilde, you don't seem to be too surprised to find out that Steve Crandall's car just flipped off the road not too far from here.
Unfortunately, accidents seem to run in that family.
The facts don't point to an accident, Mr. Wilde.
I don't see what that has to do with me.
Well, I thought you may have been driving by and seen something. It might prove helpful. It happened around 1 o'clock.
No, I was here having lunch with my wife.
That's funny. I came by about that time to talk to you, but nobody answered the door, and your car was gone.
You said that was 1 o'clock? Ah, yes, actually, we'd finished lunch earlier than that. Tracy dropped me off at the club and then took the car to be serviced.
You know, when we were driving up, we noticed that your car was still gone.
Well, actually, Tracy's still using it to keep an appointment with Derek to get her hair done. You know, if there's nothing else, I do have business to attend to.
Well, if there is, we'll get in touch with you. You can drop me off at the motel. Betty's due back from Reno about now.
Well, don't you think we better see if Tracy's alibi checks out with her husband's? You know, before they have a chance to compare notes.
Well, that's why you're going on to the beauty parlor. Ask Tracy if she'd like to come over for a drink later.
Well, thanks a lot, Speedy. Yeah.
Where you been, Betty? Gal at the airport said your plane landed an hour ago.
Oh, well, you know how airports are. I had to wait forever for a taxi. Oh, but I did find Selma Lawrence. Or at least I found out where she lives.
Did you see her or speak to her?
No, a woman beat me to it. Her next-door neighbor said that she saw Selma put some luggage into an old black limousine and then they drove off.
An old black limousine with large white wall tires?
Yes, and California license plates. Do you know it?
Lillian Enright drives a car like that. Does one-armed bandage take all your money?
What makes you think that?
I saw that taxi that brought you here.
J.R. You weren't really baptized J.R., were you?
Yeah, yeah. My folks were frightened by a can of alphabet soup. Is this going to take long?
Not much. But really, this is a bore. I mean, if Mr. Jones wanted to see me, why couldn't he drop by the house?
Well, he did. He tried. About 1 o'clock this afternoon, but you were out. Shopping, I guess.
No, I was sailing most of the afternoon.
Well, it sure was a nice day for it. Does your husband like sailing?
Not much.
Oh, then he wasn't with you.
What Mr. Jones should have done is to call first to see if I was home. I mean, I just don't sit around the house waiting for detectives to pop out of the blue. What does he want?
Well, for one thing, to find out why you lied about knowing Jack Crandall.
I didn't want to lie. Steve made me do it.
Steve. Crandall.
Well, it really doesn't matter now. Now that Steve's dead.
Wait a minute. What do you mean Steve is dead?
Don't you know? It's been on the radio. He was killed in a car accident.
No. I haven't heard.
Poor thing. His brother know him. Derek! Derek, will you please come here and fix this?
What did you mean when you said Steve made you lie?
He didn't want Mr. Jones to find out that it was him, and not Jack, that I was Well, I can't really say in love with. I never really was in love with Steve. He was just a lot of fun, that's all.
How does Jack fit in?
I asked him for help. I needed someone Steve would listen to. He was so insanely jealous of Godfrey, even of Jack, as it turned out.
Now, wait a minute. Are you saying that he thought that his own brother was making time with you?
Yes. But I couldn't get him to believe that there was nothing between me and Jack. He came to me the night that Jack died, full of wild threats.
Against you?
No, against Jack. He said he was going to go down to the boat and settle it. Excuse me.
Stay tuned for the news. From Washington, the president's new
I
economic...
can't stay, Derek. How do I look?
We'll also have a report on the latest outbreak.
I couldn't have done better myself. How much do I owe you?
Oh, Derek, you're impossible.
Police have identified Steve Crandall of Los Angeles as the man who escaped death in a freak auto accident on North Santa Carla Road. First news of the accident came in moments ago from our mobile unit on the scene. Crandall, the police say, owes his life to some hikers who happened upon the LA man trapped in the wreckage of his car earlier this afternoon. A rescue squad arrived moments later and rushed Crandall to the hospital, where he's reported in stable condition.
Shall we go?
Yeah.
If ever I'm in need of a detective, I know who I'd call.
Yes, may I speak to Mrs. Tracy Wilde? She had an appointment with Derek. Oh, thank you. She just left with J.R.
They're probably going directly to the motel bar. When Jedediah calls, I'll be with Lillian Enright. Tell him to wait.
I'll get you back to your car as soon as we're finished.
JR, there's something I'd like to get first before I speak with Mr. Jones.
Can it wait?
Well, it's a letter that Steve wrote after Jack died, and I think it might help him understand why he killed his brother.
Where is it?
I didn't want Godfrey to find it, so I hid it. Please, I'll show you where.
Reno? No, Mr. Jones, you're wrong. I haven't been to Reno in years.
The doorman downstairs said he helped you unload some bags this morning.
Charles? He drinks a lot, you know.
His description of the lady with you matches that of Selma Lawrence.
Vodka. Charles would like you to think it's mineral water, but it's really vodka.
Miss Enright, as a rule, I don't go to the police until I'm pretty sure what's going on, but...
Selma, would you come here, please? Selma, this is Barnaby Jones. He's a private detective, Miss Lawrence.
How do you do? I'd like to ask you a few questions.
I don't have to answer any questions.
Mr. Wilde has paid for your silence for a long time, hasn't he?
Mr. Wilde is paying for my retirement, if that's what you mean.
Maybe it would have been better had you answered these questions 12 years ago at the inquest. Then a young man named Jack Crandall might still be alive.
Well, I don't know anything about that.
But you do know what happened the night that David Enright was killed in that fire.
Whatever I know is between me and Godfrey Wilde and nobody else.
I understand that you were very close to Tracy after her mother died when she was 5.
Well, yes. I love that child very much.
Enough to protect her against anything?
Well, children always need protection.
Now that I've met you, I can see that you're not the type to take money to hide or for any other reason excepting to protect Tracy.
No. No.
And that's the reason you didn't show up at the inquest? Because you couldn't bring yourself to say that you knew that Tracy was responsible for her father's death?
Oh, Miss Lillian.
I think I'd better call Godfrey and tell him that we're coming over to talk to him.
Yeah, I remember it. I read about it in an old newspaper account. This is where you hid the letter, huh?
It's my home. I hide everything here. My thoughts, my dreams. Whenever I'm in trouble, it's the only place I know. I used to do my homework in this room. My father would be sitting in this chair. So long as I could turn around and see him, I knew nothing bad could ever happen to me.
Look, have you got the letter?
It's upstairs. Let me show you around first. This is where my father died. I was asleep when I heard him calling for help.
Asleep? But I thought the newspaper said that the fire took place a little after dark.
He came running downstairs. Smoke was coming out from under the door. Daddy! 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 Tracy, help me! Help me, Tracy! Tracy, but I couldn't help him. Selma stopped me. Held me back.
Selma? She was a housekeeper.
Yes. She and Godfrey were in it together. They both killed my father.
It was an accident. Tracy didn't mean to do it. She had lit some candles. The power had gone out. The curtains caught on fire. When her father tried to put them out, the burning curtains fell on him. Tracy lost her head. She ran out the door, closed it, pressed herself against it. She wouldn't even let Selma get in.
She wasn't trying to stop me from saving her father. She was just trying to close out that awful sight of burning and her father's pain.
The firemen had it out, and David's body was being removed by the time that I got there.
And that's when the lying started.
Right then and there. She was in shock. She felt that she had caused the fire, and in her panic, hadn't answered her father's cry for help. So she started blaming others. At first, it was Selma.
She even tried to poison me. Me.
So Godfrey paid off Selma, had her safely hidden away before the inquest.
So she couldn't testify against him.
Exactly. Then he packed me off to a mental clinic, tried to have me declared incompetent so that he could take over my inheritance.
At 12 years old? He would have needed a guardian in any case.
Don't you see how clever he was? He was trying to get me committed for life. That way he would control my money forever.
Less than 9 years later, you married him.
Yes. Though I didn't realize at the time what he was after until after we were married.
Her father had been my closest friend. So, of course, I wanted desperately to help Tracy.
How long has she been in therapy?
A little over 3 years. And as she grew older, I tried my own hand at trying to break down that sense of guilt.
Well, I remember Mr. Wilde calling me on the telephone and telling me how well the child was coming along.
And suddenly she wasn't a child anymore.
Yes. She'd grown into a beautiful woman. And I found I'd fallen in love with her. Excuse me. Hello?
Hello, I was given this number by the doorman at Miss Enright's building. Is a Mr. Barnaby Jones there, please?
Yes. One moment. It's for you.
Thank you. Hello?
Barnaby, I haven't heard from JR yet. Are you sure they were coming straight back here from the hairdressers?
Yeah, you try the bar?
They're not there. I just went over.
I'll get back to you, Betty. Did Tracy have anything else to do today besides go to the hairdresser?
No. Something wrong?
I had an appointment with her and JR to talk, and they seem to have gotten lost.
Godfrey, if something's frightened her...
Yes. If that's so, I think I know where she'd want to be. Come with me.
Listen, I hate to keep pushing about this, but could you please run upstairs and get the letter?
All right. JR, I thought after telling you everything, you'd take pity on me. I don't want revenge. I thought I did. But I know now that all I want is to go away. Forget the past. Help me, please. Help me. Help me forget.
There never was a letter, was there?
No. I wanted to speak to you first. I knew Mr. Jones would never understand.
You heard on the radio that Steve wasn't killed. And you don't want to face Barnaby because you'd have to explain to him why you thought he was dead.
Oh, please, please try to understand. Please, Godfrey told me. He told me that he pushed him off the road. He must have thought he killed him.
Tracy, let's go.
No!
Tracy. Shot!
JR? JR, I'm sorry. I don't have the gun anymore.
Tracy!
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I didn't mean to hurt you.
It's all right.
JR followed me here. You said he wanted me. He tried to attack me.
Don't, Tracy.
Get an ambulance.
He was. I never told you this before, Godfrey. But I don't like this house. I haven't for a very long time.
Sure. Maybe it's time we sold it.
I think we better be going, ma'am.
Yes, Godfrey. You always know what's best for me.
I guess there are things you can't always protect someone from, no matter how much you love them.
Better have that looked after, Mr. Wilde.
Thank you for all your trouble, Mr. Jones.
Well, wouldn't be too much point in bringing her to trial, would it, Barnaby?
Not when she's already serving her sentence.